Already?
Yep.
Let's do it. Okay. Hi, everyone. um, Welcome back to Tokyo State of Mind live session. We're a podcast to make you feel good about you and your life in Japan through bringing amazing guests and sharing their invaluable stories and experiences with you. And today we have our second live on Max Scholarship, but this time we're gonna talk specifically about how to get Max for undergrads. So on this episode, we will discuss the following things. First, we want to talk about what, when, how, why, where, and who can apply for Max for undergraduate. Second, we're going to talk about the benefits of Max undergraduate scholarship, like tickets, the stipend every month and stuff. Third, we're going to have a short Q&A session for around 18 minutes, so you guys can leave comments and we're going to reply on them. And the last one will be we're gonna talk about our the other available information like links and websites. So today, as always, on the board we have Austin Zeng, Max Scholarship Association president, and our all-time guest who speaks all languages in the world. Hi, Austin.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
We have our new homie Saiham, a freshly selected Max undergraduate scholar from Bangladesh who studies right now in Ritumekan University. Hi Saiham, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, it's so nice to have you here today. And as always, your all-time hosts who are by some accident, Max Scholar Sue, Kamida, and Katya. Hi!
Hello.
This session is brought with love, support, and structure, and we're happy that you joined us. At the end of the session, we'll have the Q&A, so please leave your comments. And before we start this episode, we want to just have a disclaimer that, as you know, we're not working for Maxt. We're here to share, yeah, surprise, surprise, but we're here to share our very invaluable experience and knowledge from being Max students by living here and closely working with other Max scholars here in Japan, like especially with someone as cool as Austin. So this is going to be super, like a highly informative session for you. And we're going to start with Saiham, with Austin, explaining what is Max Scholarship. Okay, Austin,
Hi,
your time to
everyone.
shine.
So I'll just like give a bit brief background of myself and a bit of explanation about the Max Scholarship. Yeah. So I myself, I'm from Singapore, and I came to the Japan under the Max undergraduate scholarship in 2012 through the embassy. And so yeah, I had 1 year in Osaka for the language course, and after that I moved to the University of Tokyo, and where I graduated from in 2017 with a degree in politics. So just a bit of an explanation about the next undergraduate scholarship. Be aware there are two types of next undergraduate scholarships. One is through the embassy, and this is the one that I went through. This basically, it's where you apply to the embassy with all your documents, and they will select the top people from each country, and then they'll bring you here into Japan. Generally speaking, you will have 1 year of a language course, either in Osaka or in Tokyo, Osaka University or the Tokyo University of Foreign Studies here in Tokyo. For 1 year, after which you go and join your university. Selection for your actual university happens within this 1 year. So the thing is that the embassy route is where you actually come in knowing that you're going to get the 1 year language course, but you do not actually know which university you're going to get in the end. That depends on how you apply, and that depends on the competition with all the other scholars who are coming into your track. So that's one. So yeah, and you pretty much will be expected to study in Japanese when you are in your university. There are a few exceptions for people who apply through the embassy and apply directly to a course, an English-based course, but those people are really the minority. So that's the embassy route of the MEC scholarship. The other route that you can get the MEC scholarship for the undergraduate is when you apply directly to a university program, generally speaking in English, like held in English. And at the point of your application, if your university considers you to be one of the top few amongst the people who've applied, they will also send your application for consideration for the MEC scholarship to MEXT. And from there, it is possible that you will receive the MEC scholarship. But to my knowledge, it's not a separate application. It's simply like, with your university admissions application, you can get a MEC scholarship at the same time. But there is no guarantee for this. So just remember, there's two ways to actually get government funding for your university studies in for the MEC scholarship here in Japan. And yeah, so a bit of a background, a bit of how to apply as well. For me, if you're looking for the embassy route, you have to apply through the embassy. If, as I stated just now, if you're trying to get it through a university program, you have to apply for the university program. On the admission site, there should be something on under the scholarship section which states whether they have the MEC scholarship given to some applicants. So yeah, from there you can see. But remember, as I said before, if you're going through the university route, you do not have a guarantee that you're going to get it until you actually get the information. But yeah, is there what else would you want to know about, like, the undergraduate scholarship, like, Hamida and like Katya, like anything that you think that I should talk a bit more about?
Um, I think we like touch upon like basic topic. Yeah, let's start. Let's ask about university recommended MEC scholarship from the SciHam. So please, can you like briefly describe? Yeah, how did you get the scholarship? Which major was that?
So the first, like Austin said, there are two methods, and I got the MEC scholarship through the university recommendation. So there are a lot of misconceptions about the university recommendation. So firstly, what you need to know is, when do you apply for the university recommendation MEC scholarship? And the straight cut answer is, there is no separate deadline, or there is no separate application time to apply for the MEC scholarship through the university. Like Austin said, the deadline is basically you're applying to the university. And when you're applying to the university, if your application is like he said, one of the top applications, and if the university is under the MEC scheme, the university automatically recommends you. So there, to be honest, there are no separate deadlines. There's no separate even applications. Like, you could email the university and say, "No, please recommend me for the MEC," but I'm not really sure whether the university will accept your request. But there are no separate timelines, and there are also no separate applications for it. So you might ask, so if everything is so uncertain, how do we actually know whether I'll get the MEC or not through the university? And again, the shortcut answer is, you do not know. There is no certainty that when you're applying to university, whether you'll be selected, whether you'll be recommended for the MEC. It really depends on like your application and also that year. So, but on a general basis, the required documents that are that are required is the same as just applying to the university, which are basically your high school results transcripts from last 4 years of transcript, your class 10 and 12 grades. In Bangladesh, we have two board examinations, in one in plus 10, one in plus 12. So those results. Then you also have your English proficiency test. After that, you have some letter of recommendations that you get from your teachers. After that, you have the essays. You have to write some admission essays. Mind it, there are no separate essays for the MEC. You're, like I said, you're applying to the university. The essays are for the university. Essays, and lastly, the extracurricular activities. What did you do outside your for academics? So these are the 5 or 6, the core pieces of an application when you're applying for to an university. And if these are very strong, if this represent you very well, and the university thinks that you're at the top, the university shall automatically, they'll email you that we want to recommend you for the MEC scholarship. But like Austin said, even after they recommend you for the MEC scholarship, it is not yet guaranteed that you already got it. I mean, there is high chances that you're going to get it. It's very unlikely that you're not going to be selected, but it is not yet fully confirmed, 100% confirmed. In fact, you only get confirmed, like I got confirmed at around 2 months before my departure, around July or August, if I remember correctly. My university started from September, and I got the final result around July or August. So you just get the final result around a month or two before. So this is, you can say, this is the overview of how to apply for the MEC scholarship through the university.
I see. Thank you so much. This is very informative. And I have a few questions. So, as entrance exam, you don't have to go through the interview in person.
Okay, so regarding the interview, if firstly, if the university believes that they want to recommend you for the MEX through the university recommendation, the university might ask you to attend an interview, or they might not even ask you for an interview. It depends solely on the university. But the thing is, for me, if I talk about my case, no separate interviews were taken by any of the MEX authorities. The interview that I went through for the MEX was taken by the university itself. But also, I know some of my friends and juniors who were not interviewed, and they also got the MEX through the university recommendation. So I think it really depends on the university and their policy on whether they want to take an interview or not.
Mm-hmm.
For the embassy side, it's a bit different because you do have to go to the respective embassies. I'm not sure about what happened this year for some countries because of Corona, but like in general, you will have to go to the embassy to do an interview after you pass document screening. So for the embassy side, generally what happens is you submit your document, and the document is pretty much as I have mentioned before, your results and like your personal background, application form, why do you want to come and study in Japan, these kind of basic stuff. After that, you have to go for a test. Your test content as test subjects depend on which field that you're going to apply under, and from there you will have one interview at your nearest consulate or embassy, and from there, like the embassy chooses whether they are going to recommend you to next for consideration or not. So what happens after that is that the embassy will recommend you, or if they don't recommend you, then it's better luck next year. And so MEX after that makes the final decision. So just because your embassy recommends you does not mean that you're going to get the MEX scholarship. Just be aware for the undergraduate side, undergraduate embassy side. So, and generally speaking, for me, we got so undergraduate embassy entries always come in April. And so I got the information that I was receiving the scholarship in the December of the previous year.
I'm sorry, some disconnection happened.
Hello.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you for information. So, what about entrance examination? Once again, I want to go through this topic. So, how does it differ? Well, depending on the major, is it like humanity studies or like technical studies? Like, how does it?
Okay. So for the embassy side,
Yes, for the.
What happens is that there will be it does depend on your what do you call it, like your subject like field. So Japanese is part of the examination for everyone. Math is also part of the examination for everyone. And depending on your subject field, after that, then it depends on whether they're going to ask you to do a physics test or a chemistry test. I can't remember the exact things, but yeah, just be aware that like depending on your subject, you will have like maybe 1 or 2 more tests. Now, then people will ask, I want to apply, but I have 0 Japanese. So therefore, does that mean that I have no chance of getting the MEX scholarship for the embassy side? The answer is no. Your Japanese is one factor that they will take into consideration, but it is not a disqualifying factor. However, it will be important. It's more important for people who are applying for humanities and arts and humanities subjects, politics, sociology, things like that. And so Japanese is more important for these fields. Now, for your math will be more important for people who are applying to study STEM majors and economics and business. So this is like like the basic stuff. So, but we also do know of, for example, sociology majors who applied and were successful and got the scholarship and came to Japan with 0 Japanese. That also happens. So the thing is that there's always chances. And you can just try. So nothing really disqualifies you. It's just that obviously what happens for any scholarship, not just the MEX scholarship, is that it's always a relative competition with whoever else is applying. So yeah, just be aware.
I see. So what about the language that the tests are conducted? Can it be conducted in your native language, for example?
Now from Singapore, the language. Okay, so the Japanese examination is done in Japanese, but the thing is that for us, we have the other examinations in English,
Yeah.
and I believe that other countries have. While the interview can be done in your native language, I think that the test must be is done in English or in Japanese. But wait. I'm going to say this: check with your embassy, check with your consulate. Whatever I say may not be accurate for next year, for example. So, for the most accurate information about not just undergraduate scholarship, but any of the MEC scholarships, always check with the embassy. But yeah, for me, it was for me, like aside from the Japanese paper, the things were in English.
I think. Okay, thank you, Austin. About university recommended, I have a question. So, Saiham, how can I understand like is this university participating like in MEX program and so on? How do I find this kind of information?
Okay, so I think there are two ways you can actually know about this. The first one, like Austin said at the very beginning, usually under the scholarship on the in the internet under the scholarship option, they usually say whether whether they recommend any student for the MEX or not. For instance, if I give you an example right now, for instance, Tokyo Institute of Technology, Tokyo Tech, they have an English dot program GSEP, and in there they specifically mention that they will recommend 10 students for the MEX scholarship. So sometimes it's written on the university's website itself. That's the number one way. And the second way is actually there you can see on the internet, if you just search the universities under the MEX program or university under the MEX, you can also find a list of all the universities that are funded by that are under the MEX program itself. So these are the two ways you can find whether a university is actually under the MEX program or not.
For the embassy side, there is one important thing to note, and I believe this is still true. It was true when I was applying. From the embassy side, you will be able to choose, I think, only from public universities.
Oh.
So the thing is that if you're under the university recommendation, for example, Itsumekan is a private university, and they do have access to a MEC scholarship. However, if you go through the embassy, in general speaking, but to the best of my knowledge, you will generally be going to a public university after that, which means Todai, Osaka, Kyoto, but no Sophia, for example, no Waseda, no Keio for the undergraduate level.
Well, I see. Okay, thank you. So, what about the age limit that like people can apply for this program? What are the top, for example, if I started my second grade in the undergraduate school and I don't want to I want to change something, I want to go to Japan. So what is the limit of the age that I can apply for this program?
I think for university recommendation, I think the first thing is you need to qualify for the university's policy itself. If a university has a policy that they will accept applicants from this age to this age, you must fall under that to be even qualified to be recommended for the MEX. But even if you qualify to apply to the university, I think MEX do have, I'm not sure, Austin, I think MEX does have an age limit or something.
Yes, they do.
And, yeah, and I think if you don't qualify for that, even if you're a top applicant, the university cannot refer you for the MEX program, because at the end of the MEX is not given by the university, it's given by the government, so you have to comply with their policy. So yeah.
I actually just opened the scholarship guidelines for Singapore's embassy, like the embassy of Japan in Singapore, and for this year's guidelines, they say that applicants in principle must be born on or after April the 2nd, 1996. So this is for the undergraduate scholarship, I believe. So there is an age limit. Now, it does say also in the same document that, for example, if your country has military service or other things, there may be exceptions. But in general, for undergraduates, there is a age limit for when you can enter, at least through the embassy.
Okay, got it. So, Saiham, also, I don't really understand the procedure of taking exams. So you're not in Japan, but you're applying to Japanese university in your country, and you're writing tests in your country, right?
Sorry, I did not get you. I'm right now in Japan.
I mean, when student apply. Yeah. So when student apply for university recommended program, and So as far as I understood, student has to take an exams, right, to get the scholarship.
Okay, so no, I think it depends on, like I said, the
Mm.
two
It depends
methods.
on the school.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think for the university recommendation method, there isn't any particular
Mm.
exam that you have to go
Mm.
through. Like I didn't have to go through an exam. My friends didn't have to go through an exam.
Mm.
So I mean, if the university has a policy about for themselves that they are requiring exam, it could be different. But particularly for MEX, they come and take, or you have to go and give an exam. This isn't the case for the university
Mm.
recommendation, which is quite different from the embassy recommendation, I believe.
Yeah. So for Saiham's case and, like, you know, the undergraduate, like scholarship for through the university, it really is whatever the university asks. So
Yeah.
some of the universities will ask for a set score. Some of them will actually accept your score results from your home country, and other things like that. So it really is whatever the university like requires. For the embassy side, is pretty much like high school results is pretty much like the main thing, or any other supplementary information, including set scores, like, you know, and like the GCE levels, things like that. Yeah.
Wow. Actually, it sounds like get university recommended scholarship is easier than embassy.
Um,
I think this answer could go both. Often people ask me that, Sam, should I apply for the university recommended, or should I go for the embassy recommended? So I think the fact is, for the university recommended, the good things are that, yeah, you don't have to go through any exams. There is no hectic interview process. But the bad thing is, it's very uncertain. Like for the embassy recommendation, right now and right there that whether you got you're up to the next stage or not. But for university recommendation, it's very uncertain. You don't have any surety whether you got the next or not. So I think it depends on the applicant on what we should do.
I will say that the competition for the next scholarship for the undergraduate embassy side can be very tough. So you're looking at so every year, and this is public information, I think, on the Study in Japan official website, that, like, I think only around 100 people are selected through the embassies to come to Japan for the undergraduate scholarship, and which means pretty much, like, for example, in my year, I think there were there were definitely less than 10 Indians who came. I think there were 4 or 5 in my year. So imagine, out of like the thousands of people who applied for the embassy recommendation, like through in India, only 4 people could come. So that's pretty much, like, you know, the competition does depend a bit on the exact country, but it's not easy. Just be aware.
I think for undergrad it's more difficult, right? Like compared to postgrad, or I think it's much more difficult for undergrad.
What about do you have to search for the professor? Like kind of, so for the graduate school you have to search for the lab, like contact professor and so on, and but undergrad no.
Okay, so for undergrads, in the university recommendation method, there is no contacting the professor. So it solely depends on how good your application is. So
I mean, for the embassy side, you don't even know which university you're going to.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's really, like, you know, like, that's only decided from your own application within the Japanese preparation course, and from there, and you know, the competition at that point. So it's not really, you don't even know where you're going to at the point of application. Yeah.
Also, like the university, when you choose, like after when you are learning Japanese in Japan, after that you guys are selected on which university you'll go.
Mm-hmm.
So like, is there like do you have to like give a exam with the Japanese students to that university, or is there a separate examination for you guys?
So the way that Japanese students have to go through the Japanese university entrance examination, right? So the MEX students don't have to go through that. So what happens is that there is an internal application process within the MEX scholarship where you basically, you know, you have all your results from within the course that you are in, right? And so you use that, and then you make your application, and you see, and after like, you know, everybody, like, you know, you send this preference sheet to MEX, then MEX looks at, okay, so we have the results, and then so these people we have how many people applying to this department in this university, but you only have so many slots. And therefore, after that, you are looking at, like, you know, the distribution of preferences.
Okay.
And after that, there may be a case that that the university that you have been selected for, like asks you for an extra examination or an extra interview. That does happen sometimes, but in most circumstances, it's rare that people fail at that stage. We have faced this before. Over the past 10 years, I think maybe 3 or 4 people have failed at that stage, but that's out of 100 people. So unlikely. Yeah.
I see. Actually, what about do you guys have 1 year of a Japanese language learning course, something like this? Because as far as I understood, your all the education is in Japanese, right? There is no except
No, so
no other option.
for the university recommendation method, I think another key difference with the embassy recommend and the university recommend is that in university recommendation method, you don't actually have to go through the 1 year Japanese language course. And like I said, since we apply to the university, we actually are taught in English because we apply to the English undergraduate program. So we do not have a Japanese course, and we are taught in English. Yeah.
So for the university, like the embassy application, right there are cases of people directly applying in Japanese to to the universities. I'm not going to go into that because that's once every 5 years or something, and somebody gets through that. So it's pretty much an exception, and that means that you need to come with pretty much like an N1 already or an EJU to back the fact that you can study in Japanese. So for most people, on arriving in Japan in April, you will be in a course for 1 year to basically build your Japanese. So there's 2 questions here. For people who already have Japanese, do you really have to go through the course? My view, and as somebody who actually had an N1 before coming to Japan, I would say that even then the course is very important. Because the thing is that just because you may have learned it in your home country does not mean that is enough for you to keep up with lectures in Japanese or write reports in Japanese. It's a whole other different thing. The other question is, so I don't come with any Japanese. Is it really possible for me to, in 1 year, study enough Japanese for me to do physics in Japanese? And the answer is yes, it has been done. And your Japanese is not going to be perfect at the end of 1 year, but the thing is, it's a tough 1 year, but it's very rewarding. And the vast majority of people that I have seen, even without coming with any Japanese, have survived through that year and they've proceeded to study in Japanese in their respective universities.
But I think, to be honest, even if I used to totally support the fact that students are being taught Japanese for 1 year, because living in Japan, we understand that how much Japanese is important. So I think even if I were given a chance that through the university recommendation method you can learn 1 year of Japanese, then I think I would also pick that. So I think it's very, very beneficial.
Yeah.
That's for sure. If you guys have some long-term goals, it's always it's best to have even to start learning Japanese before coming to Japan. You will understand how much of a advantage you're gonna have by doing that. And I think also no matter if you apply for university or embassy recommended track, if they see that you can speak Japanese or you're really working hard on it or you have some JLPT certificate, it's gonna be a huge plus.
Yeah.
I see. So let's talk about what are the chances of entering your dream school, for example, dream university?
I mean, for the university recommended, well, if you either get in or you don't get in.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, so for the embassy, let me just be frank, okay? So this is basically what happens every year. Every year, what happens is that for the embassy side, you're looking at, for example, this changes year by year maybe a bit, but in general, let's say look at Todai. Todai maybe has 2 slots in the College of Arts and Sciences for next undergraduate scholars for this department or that department. And usually, so basically, because it's 2 slots, only one person from Osaka and one person from the Tokyo University of Foreign Studies can enter that department in Todai. So this is usually what happens. Yeah. So because of this, even within the max undergraduates, right, competition is fierce to get into the top few schools. However, uh, on the other hand, even with 100 people and everybody doing something like a different subject, right? People get spread around this quite decently. So the thing is that most of the undergrad scholars will end up in at least the what do you call it, the former imperial universities in Japan.
Mhm.
However, amongst that, there's only so few people who can enter, Todai, Hitotsubashi, and like Kyoto, for example,
Mhm.
and Tokyo Institute of Technology as well. Yeah, it really depends on how well you do in comparison with other people in the same course. And to be honest, Japanese will be a factor as well within the course, as a point of consideration.
Mhm. I see. So, about like another question that I often see, so from Russian people, for example,
Mhm.
is that so like in Russia the year of the school like finish in June, but the like for the embassy recommended. So as we know that university recommendation doesn't like have any specific like limits, time schedules, and so on.
Mhm. Mhm.
But for the embassy, it's like end of May, something like this. So if you
Mhm.
graduate from your high school, for example,
Mhm.
in June, how can I apply for the like this year April, for example, because I don't want to lose 1 year like.
So embassy wise, I think this actually applies the same to the university. University, the university applications, they accept expected graduations and then maybe like a conditional offer or something like that. Embassy applications. So at least I'm looking at this at what Singapore's embassy is saying. The Japanese embassy in Singapore says, if the applicant has not graduated, submit a certificate of prospective graduation from the school or university. So as long as you can provide a certificate of prospective graduation, at least in Singapore, it's fine. But these kind of things, as I mentioned before, are very country specific. So ask your embassy and ask your consulate. Yeah.
Also very university specific. Like even for universities there are certain requirements and then certain ways. So I think if you even if someone wants to apply to the university, they should check their website or talk to
Mm,
them regarding the expected or predicted grades or scores.
mm.
I see. Okay. Yeah, so seems like there is still a way to do it, everything
Mm.
in
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
I feel like also if you are really good at like I think it's important to really learn how to annoy your embassy like with questions and stuff, because at some point like I realized that they also don't want to answer the same questions all the time.
Mm.
They will learn that okay, so people in my country have problems with this, and they'll try to talk to Max and try to do something about it. So it never hurts to ask them questions and get more
Mm.
information. So I guess that for Max is just general really important to be like alerted and like ask
Mm.
as many questions as you can, like from our platform, like from Travis platform, for example, or from universe
Yeah.
from embassy. Just be proactive, ask questions. uh, However, when it comes to the embassy, like it's your country specific thing. uh, that it's something that's definitely very, you cannot like really learn that much on the internet because
Mm.
um, it's very specific.
I think asking for help is very important. A lot of
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of students they just feel shy about talking to the whether it's the embassy or whether it's the university admission office. They just don't talk for some reason. And I always tell them one thing. I think when you
Mm.
actually want help, you'll be surprised at how many people want to help you, how much the university admission officers want to help you about this thing. So I think it's very important for prospective students to actually ask for help. I think it's very important.
Exactly. I think a lot of people underestimate how much of
Yeah,
a teamwork it is for you to get max scholarship. I mean, it's not just you; it's your family, it's your circle of friends, it's your
exactly.
Mm.
senpais, it's your professors. Ask everyone to help you. It can be quite mentally tough to do that because that's a crazy competition, but at the end of the day, it's gonna worth it. At least you will feel like people care about you and stuff like.
Yeah.
So that's important.
Right.
Nice. So, Kat, do you have any more questions?
No, actually, I have asked.
Actually, I want to add one thing, and this is something that people also do ask. So generally speaking, if you're under the max undergraduate scholarship, we're looking at a like a monthly like stipend of around 120,000 yen. I think same is same for like for university recommended.
Yeah,
Is it
it's 125.
125? Okay, so around 120, around like 125 around there. People ask, is this enough? And the answer is generally it's enough. If you even if you're living in Tokyo, okay, so what happens is this: when you first come, you'll be living in a dormitory, and because you're living in a dormitory, generally speaking, it's not really that bad. When Sooner or later, though, you may have to make you rent your own apartment. And now, if you are renting in Tokyo and you really want to have like a snazzy apartment, like in a convenient area, 120 plus minus is maybe not enough for you to pay your rent and your daily expenses. But the Max Scholarship, undergraduate scholarship especially, does usually allow you to do part-time work. So generally speaking, unless you somehow like to spend a lot of money, it's really not really that much of an issue actually in terms of money wise. Yeah, I mean I do know of cases where people say that it's not enough, but when then
Yeah,
you go into the room and you see what kind of funny things they buy. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you don't go to karaoke every day, you should be fine.
karaoke is cheap. For students, it's cheap. The thing with karaoke, some people like to buy branded stuff, and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
That's
Austin,
true.
is like the English proficiency score, is it needed for the embassy recommended method?
I mean, so this is probably very country specific. In Singapore's case, because the thing is our education is in English, I don't think there's really anything that is needed. But for other countries, like I just wanted to add that yes, English is an examination. I just checked, like English is an examination subject for all applicants apparently, at least for those I see for Singapore, right? So yeah, just be aware that there's also an English selection process. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think even for the Bangladesh, if I talk about the Japan embassy in Bangladesh and the
mm,
method here, I think we require an English proficiency score. It's written
mm,
here that we require in English proficiency score. And I think what I've heard, I have not applied, but what I've heard from other applicants who have applied here is that they said that the English scores are very important. Like they put a
mm,
lot of emphasis on this.
mm,
So yeah.
Yeah. I think
mm,
in any case, if you have TOEFL or IELTS score, it will always be a good thing because first, you can do it back in your country, surrounded by like familiar, familiar places and people. You can do better. Like there's less mental stress for you to do the test. It's gonna be cheaper in many cases than
mm.
in Japan, and even if you don't will not really use it for the university because there are some ridiculous cases when even the native speakers are asked to give the TOEFL and IELTS score.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, it happens. So native speakers, you shouldn't think that like, oh, we can get away with it. Unfortunately, some universities still require the scores.
Mm,
And the other thing that is really important is that a lot of like part-time jobs and full-time jobs might also be interested in seeing your certificate. So
mm,
it never hurts to do that, and it's better come prepared with that.
mm.
And okay, guys, we're left like 20 minutes left till the end of this live stream. Let's start our Q&A session. So you guys have sent us the comments, and we are gonna start answering them. Thank you so much for patience and for writing all your questions. We are happy to start the session. Okay. And the first question is from Arushi. Um, so he was asking, could you brief tell us the number of necessary subject tests for Max plus what is a good score?
I mean, university recommended. Depends
I
on
think
university.
I think this question is for university recommended method. I think I'd always didn't mention. I think for everyone, I think it's very important when you ask a question. I think it's important that you write actually whether it's for whether you're aiming for the university recommended method or the
Mm,
embassy recommended method, because both of them, even for academic requirements, they're quite different.
Mm.
So I think, but if you ask for the university recommended method, if you're asking for that, I think I assume subject test by she's meaning the SAT subject test.
Yeah,
I think
I think that was
she's
that's what.
meaning that. Yeah. So if you ask me, there first of all, number of necessary subject tests for max. Okay, so first of all, there are no definite number of subject tests for max. It is completely dependent on the university and their admission policy. So
Mm.
Arushi, I would suggest you to see the university's website and whether or how many subject tests they require. And the same goes for score. Since it's so totally dependent on the university, you should see the past application history on what are their accepted scores if they provide
Mm.
anything. But specifically for mix, there isn't any number of subject tests or there isn't a threshold for a good score. But you can assume that if there's a good score, it should be pretty high for the mixed.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for helping with this, Saham. So, and we're going to the next question from Kanapriya. Does MEC scholarship includes MBBS degree taught in English language?
Is this if it's an M, it sounds like a master's, right?
Yeah. So this is for masters. So, Austin, can you answer this one?
I mean, I wait. What is MBBS? Let me Google.
I think MBBS by she's meaning I think what I this is for the Bachelor of Medicine. She wants to be a doctor. Yeah.
Okay, so
So-
like so bachelors of like now in the first place, Japan doesn't really use the idea of like a bachelor's for medicine. But the thing is that yes, the MEC scholarship does cover people who study like medical fields, and which means that like you can actually graduate from the MEC scholarship and become a practicing doctor in Japan. We can do this, and in that case, your MEC scholarship from all the way undergraduate is it's 1 year of language and then 6 years of your your bachelor's, and then the 2 years to become a doctor. Yeah, so it does do that. Yeah.
But for unfortunately for if you say about university recommendation, since there are currently no English taught medicine degree in Japan that makes you a doctor, so unfortunately for an embassy recommendation there isn't any way to get the max through this.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you guys for helping with this one. Next question comes from Lance, who is a fan of Miyazaki. Nice. Is it possible to apply for both university recommendation and embassy application at the same time? I think that's a great question, and we need your help with this, guys.
Okay, so for university recommend, we are for Austin, for embassy recommendation, when do you usually? I know it depends on the country itself, but what is the usual timeline and when you guys apply?
For embassy side or embassy side? I remember like it was pretty much around like every country has a slightly different like schedule. So some countries may be like 1 month earlier or 1 month later than other countries. Yeah. So so I can't really say. To the best of my knowledge, there is nothing stopping somebody from applying for both at the same time.
Exactly. I was about to say the same thing. That I think once, I mean, it's very difficult because once you get a scholarship, if suppose you got the embassy recommended mix, by that time there's no point of even applying for the university recommendation method. So I think you can apply for both the methods, and I think eventually, but at the end, even if you get both of them, at the end you must choose one. So
yeah, that's gonna be so cool though, right?
Can I have additional question? So I also saw like a questions like if a student has participated in another like programs which required like staying in Japan longer than 1 year, they have lower chances to get MEC scholarship. Is it true? What do you think?
For university recommendation, I have not heard anything about this. And since MEX also does not, I don't think MEX specifically publishes anything about such situations. So I don't think it would be wise for us to say anything. But I don't think there is any drawback for it. What do you think, Austin?
I will say that in the very year that I came, there were 2 people with me in Osaka who both were pretty much born in Japan and who have lived for more than 10 years in Japan but they applied through their actual nationalities in their home embassies.
Hmm.
Well, you therefore see that there are cases where people are pretty much kikokushijo and applying for like the MEC scholarship and they pass. So, well, I think you have your answer.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
thank you so
it's
much.
instead of
I
worrying
think
for
I've met
that,
this
I
kind
think
of
they
people
should apply
too.
for the
Yes.
application. They should worry about the application.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question that we have is from Ramsha Kamran. Hey, hope you're all
Ah,
safe. Thank you, Ramsha. We hope you're safe too. I want to ask, where can I submit documents for university recommended max for masters? Whether it should be the department I'm interested in particular, or to professor or the international department of the universities. So for as for university recommended max for masters, um, we covered the embassy ones, right, on one of the our sessions. Um, does anyone have idea about the one for masters, like the university recommended one?
I mean, I really don't know because like my own experience has been very like what do you call it, like undergraduate based. In fact, like Katya and like Hamida, you may be more like uh qualified to answer this than me and like Sai
Yeah,
Max.
exactly.
Wait a moment. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe we can cover that on the on the on the on the next session, because I
Uh,
feel like for the
because
university one there
this
should be
is a
specific expert. Let's keep it.
mhm. Mm,
Yeah. Okay. Let's jump into this one. Does Max requires SAT?
Okay, so for university recommendation, uh, first of all, it depends on the university whether the university requires SAT for admission or not. So it really depends on the university. But I would say this, that if you have a good SAT score, it's definitely a very good
mm,
plus point to your application because the
mm.
mix is so competitive. So yeah, it is a plus. So does it require SAT? It depends on the university, but having a good score is always is always good. So yeah.
Embassy side, I'll say that at least for me, it wasn't recommended. But the thing is that maybe there are some countries which require that. I don't know. But I don't think it's generally speaking required. I think generally speaking, your high school results will be enough. Mm.
hmm.
Great, thank you so much. So next question comes from Nan. Do you have any idea of acceptance rate after the second screening interview?
I think that's what the embassy
Yeah,
recommendation method.
embassy.
Depends heavily on the country. It depends heavily on the country, and so it's. I mean, I don't really want to talk about the acceptance rate because it really depends on how many people are they interviewed per country and how many people that they are going to bring to Japan. And I'll say that it's. I mean, I don't know, but
It really depends. Yeah, I think it really depends on the country.
mm,
So I'm
And it
talking
depends on
because
the year too.
mm,
yeah, on the year, on the like how many people apply for the
mm.
program and so on. Uh, yeah, it really
Great.
depends.
Yeah, so even I think even Max people don't really know because it all depends, on the economic situation, on political situation. Like, so for
Mm.
example, if your country like suddenly like just got better relationships with Japan, they are interested in increasing the slots for more students coming from your
Mm,
country, and so it's like a lot of social, like economic and
mm,
issues. Yeah.
Can I add something to this? So if you pass to the interview, so that means that your written exams are pretty well, and so results of your written exams are pretty well. And if you didn't pass through this interview, so that means that you may not like explained your like topic, field of study to the committees, for example. That's why maybe yes, it's hard to say, but still, why not to try one more time?
mm.
Yeah,
But
so
I think
Yeah.
Next does not officially they do not officially publish the acceptance rate, do they?
No, no, no. Of course not. Hey, you just ask like people around, did you
Yeah.
pass or no? Like something
Mm.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question that we have. Next round of questions are related to the exam. So, what in this one is Sridhar?
Oh,
Like, thank you so much for asking. What is the average cut off score you would need to get in order to pass embassy exams for STEM majors?
okay. So for STEM majors, you know there's your English and your Japanese, and then your subject tests, right? Like your Japanese is not that crucial, usually speaking. Now, having a good Japanese score is going to help, but the thing is that usually your English and your math scores and your subject scores, which are more important. As for the average cutoff score, uh, I will have to say that this is like like this is secret information, and Max, and because we're not Max employees, we don't know. But yeah, of course, if you're talking about your STEM majors, it really does. Your math will be quite important, and then your exact subject test, which means your chemistry or physics or your chemistry and biology will be important. And after that, it really depends on who else is fighting with you on the
Yeah, the
exam year.
particular year.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, for example, if all the mass genius come to participate and compete, like, oh my gosh, you better
yeah,
Yeah.
watch out.
yeah. I mean, I'll just want to say on something. The average cutoff score is not important. I mean, you do what you do. You do your best, and that's what matters. If you do your best and you beat the competition, then that's really what it is. If you are not able to beat the competition, there's always next year until the age limit that you can keep trying. So yeah, that pretty much is that the average. I mean, I don't know, but it's I don't really think that it's actually that important in the larger scale of things. You get it or you don't.
I mean, a good score is important, but I don't think this focusing on a cutoff score is
Yeah.
like that critical.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I want
I
to say one thing
agree.
also regarding the nationalities. In the various years I've seen, right, there was one year where there were more than I think 14 Thai people who came, like from Thailand, and there was one year with 14 Vietnamese people who came. So the thing is that the balance of things changes so much every year in terms of nationalities that it's almost impossible to get a proper average that actually means anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, thank you guys. Next question is from Amit. What is the GPA requirement for natural science artist student? My CSC result is GPA 4.83 and HSC 4.92. Am I eligible for max undergraduate program? Saiham
Uh,
brother. Oh, we found your brother, Saiham.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I am you're up.
okay, I think so are you eligible for the next undergraduate program? Okay, so I think you are, because first of all, like I said, to be eligible for the next undergraduate program, you have to be eligible to for the university first. That is the first thing. You have to be eligible and you have to be accepted to the university itself. And most universities in Japan, they accept, like they don't have a like the previous question, they don't have a cutoff score, like below this score we won't take you. They don't have that. So most of the English programs. So with your GPA in both SSC and HSC, you can apply to the university. But what I think is very important is, apart from just this course, you should also focus on the other things, other parts of the application, like the English proficiency test or the essays or the letter of recommendations. You should highly focus on those things to actually getting the max. I tell this thing to everyone. I tell it a lot, that becoming eligible for the max scholarship is very easy, but actually getting it is very hard. So don't think about the
Mm,
eligibility, think about actually getting it.
Yeah.
So that's my answer
Yeah.
to you, Nabil.
that's a good mindset. I agree. So, next one that we have is from Arushi. I know that this differs a lot and there is no definite criteria, but could you give an idea of how your portfolio was and how you think your application was for Max? I think it's so he's asking about like the tips and tricks, like some secret
Mm,
strategies from Saiham and Austin. So guys,
mm,
share your most evil strategies.
evil strategies. Let me think a bit. Saiham, could you answer first about your evil strategies? Like,
I,
just
I, I,
even
I
more
think I
evil
think
strategies.
yeah, I think Austin applied. I'm a very fresh Max scholar, so I
Yeah.
think it's more vivid in my memories. So I think firstly, academics is very important. I had good academics, in whether it's my school results or whether it's for the English proficiency test. It was good. So I think academics is the first thing that you should clear. It's good. But I think what is more important is that that worked for me. I think was the fact that my other components, especially my essays and my extracurricular activities. I think when you're applying to university, all your essays, your letter of recommendation, your extracurricular activities, they should all have a synchronization. They should portray who you are as a person. So one of the major flaws that I see in a lot of people is that in order to impress the university authority, they will do suppose 10 extracurricular activities like singing, dancing, drawing, painting, and 10 other things. Okay.
Arctic.
And I ask,
Why wouldn't they apply for Max? They should apply to Juilliard or I don't know.
very true.
Yeah.
So I think for if I talk about myself, I was very specific on what I love, on what my passion was, and I was able to portray that to the university admission officer. So I think if you ask for any tip or if you ask about what helped me, I think it was the fact I could show my passion very clearly to the admission officers on what I wanted to do in life. So I think that is very important, Arushi.
I can answer for the MPC side, right? And this is I think maybe the most important thing for everybody seeing it, like the tips to actually go through the embassy. The first thing is like, okay, we've got a quick few other questions about how to prepare for the math and the physics exam. The past year exam papers are online. They can be found online. So the thing is that please look for them online, and then if you can't solve them, find somebody who can solve them, and then learn from them. Simple as that. Yeah. So. The Japanese is not something you can really just learn though. So it's like the Japanese something like, if you have it at a base level already, you can answer. If not, then it's a different thing. But as I said before, we have multiple cases of people, especially science and math graduates, who have come without Japanese in like zero, as in no hiragana, no katakana. So that is one thing to consider. Interview, very important. Now the question is, for interviews, one very important point: please don't talk about anime. I mean, seriously. I mean, this is. So the one question about the MX scholarship that they will never ask you, why do you want to go to Japan? And then if you answer anime, then you are probably not going to get selected. maybe no. Actually, I did talk about anime myself, so I did get selected. But I was saying it in the form of I first got interested in anime, but the thing is that from there I developed an appreciation of the Japanese language. I started learning Japanese, and then from there, I wanted to actually come to Japan and experience Japan fully for myself. Think about it the other way. You have to put yourself in the shoes of the embassy. Oh, they got cut off. Never mind. I'm just going to keep talking anyway. Yeah. Put yourself in the shoes of the embassy. So what are they looking for? They're looking for somebody who actually has seriously considered, Japan as an option. Somebody who actually has some understanding of Japan in the first place. Somebody who actually shows some sort of flexibility and understanding that actually living somewhere by yourself in a foreign country is not an easy thing by any means. So these are the type of things, you have to prove yourself, prove your own value in. I mean, the Max Scholarship is an investment from Japan into you. And because of that, you kind of have to answer in the end interview why you are a worthy investment to Japan. And from your character, from your your previous experiences, from your already understanding commitment of how you're going to contribute to Japan once you actually enter Japan, all these things. Yeah, that's really what is important in the interview for the embassy side. So please don't talk about anime. Because of anime. No. Doesn't work. No.
Batsu. Sound effects from Austin. Okay. Next question is from Amit. How to prepare for maths and physics exam?
I mean, Austin answered this question already.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are good with this one. Thank you for the question, Amit. Next one is from this girl.
Ooh.
Hi, Queen. Hi, Naomi. I'm Naomi from Tokyo. I'm really hoping my boyfriend can join me here in Japan. He's studying abroad, but in a different country. Must he apply from Pakistan?
To my knowledge, yes, but this is not for the university. University applications are different because university is just simply depending on wherever the university does their selection processes. For the embassy application, you are likely to be expected to apply from your home country so that they can do the interview.
Yeah. I think for university, you can apply from anywhere in the world, as long as your application just comes into the university. That is important. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Queen, for asking this question. We love you. Happy belated birthday, and we wish you good luck with your boyfriend coming to Japan. Okay, and the last question that we have here is a few days ago I sent an email to Japanese embassy in Bangladesh, and they said that the minimum requirement for max is GPA 5.0, both SSC and HSC. How now you say Ham say that GPA doesn't matter. So what should I do now?
Yes, I think Nabil, you're correct. I said GPA does not matter for the university recommendation method. So because for the university recommendation method, it solely depends on the university policy itself. But if when you email the embassy, that they are talking about the embassy recommendation method. So for embassy recommendation method, there are policies and guidelines which you must consult with the embassy. So I hope now you understand that there are two different methods, and each method has different score requirements.
I see. Okay. And okay, we're gonna have one more question. From Mumbai Pila. So, hi guys, give me some idea about tourism career in Japan. So, I think she might be like asking about max for tourism. Is it possible to have like to do it here in Japan?
Generally speaking, tourism actually falls under like the College of Technology and the Senmongakko, like like the specialist school scholarship, like here in. So just be aware for everyone, there is, along with the undergraduate scholarship, there's also something which is kind of similar in the form of the specialist school scholarship, which is where you don't go to a 4-year university, but the thing is you go to a specialist school. So you've got people doing hospitality, you've got under MEC scholarship. That's another thing. Now, tourism career in Japan. Now, I mean, I would say it's Corona right now, so not really something against, not really something's going to happen in 1 year, but I think, well, once everything's back to normal, Japan still wants tourist dollars, sort of, and for tourist dollars, then clearly there's a big need for people who speak both in English and other languages. So the thing is that there will be demand, but not this year, not next year. You're looking at maybe some recovery in 2023 in terms of hiring.
I think after the COVID, I think in general Japan does have a good requirement, good need for the tourist industry. Yeah.
There's one
Okay,
other
so
I mean, there's one other comment that I want to answer from Nando.
sure.
The
Okay.
about
Here
yes,
one. Okay.
they applied for College of Technology in the field of chemistry, and I passed the interview. So I want to know this year whether they will reduce the number of scholarships. We do not know.
Yeah.
We do not know because the thing is we're not within MEX, and this also to be a bit of explanation. How many scholarships they award also depends on their own negotiations with the finance ministry. So the thing is that it's very, very much we do not know right now. However, to be honest, 2008, after the Lehman Brothers crash, right, there was a reduction in the number of scholarships that were given the following year and the following, I think, one or 2 years, I guess. So the thing is that it is possible. Just to be frank and based, giving you the information that I know. We do not know, but the thing is that it is a possibility. Yeah.
Yes, thank you guys. So let's just answer two last questions. So thank you guys for sending these questions. We're really happy to help you. So if you guys have other questions, we're gonna leave for the next question, well, for the next session. Yeah. Let's just ask the ones that were sent before 12, and that one was, again, I think it was Naomi's question. So I've contacted many institutions in Japan, and also there is a MEC scholarship in Pakistan. Many universities do not support Pakistani students through the application process. Help. Sad emoji.
How do we help? I don't
to be very honest, I think then you should just see universities that are accepting Pakistan
Yeah.
students from Pakistan, because I know a few that do accept students from Pakistan. Because but if that, I mean, it would be very not right of a university not accepting or not helping a student just because he or she is from Pakistan. So that's very unfortunate. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, guys, that was great. Thank you so much for your comments again. And on this note, we're gonna say like just thank you so much for participating in this session. We hope it was helpful, and we are, yeah, as always, like we're here this podcast, like and this live sessions to bring you the best experts, like the positive energy, and like all the best about life in Japan. So for the last words, we wanted to strongly encourage you to follow us on social media, since not only we provide like the content like that, like oh no miss questions is here. Not only we provide the content like this, um, but we also do the every Saturday we do the interviews with different people living in Japan, and we talk about career, work, and life opportunities, basically. Yeah, so you can follow us on social media. And today's session was brought by us, and as you know, by our amazing guests, Austin and Saiham, who are also representatives of these two amazing organizations, uh, which is Max Scholarship Association and Connect Japan. If you guys want to tell something more about your
Say something first, like the logo there is the logo of Max. Max Scholar
oh
Association
yeah
is an independent body. We have our own logo, so please look for us somewhere else. We yeah.
yeah
So I should I introduce like MSA right now?
yeah sure.
So
Go ahead.
so, so MSA Max Scholar Association is a association that me and a few other Max scholars and alumni created in 2016. We are an independent body, and our goal is to ensure that Max scholars are connected to each other and connected to information that will help them their their endeavors within Japan and after graduation, and as well as through participating in these kind of things, like increasing like the presence of the Max scholarship as a whole throughout the whole world. So we can be found in our official website at mextsa.org, mextsa. Max Students Max Scholar Association .org. You can also find us on Facebook. If you search for like Max Scholars Association, you can find our page and you like us. If you are in Japan already and are a Max Scholar or alumni, please join us. We are a very happy group that are very helpful, and so the thing is, I'm looking forward to seeing you in the association. Yeah.
And
Yeah, which is very true. They're really helpful. Yeah, Saiham, how about Connect Japan?
oh, so if I in very to be in very short, if I have to say, I think Connect Japan is a non-profit platform that helps international students around the world to apply to Japan or to know about Japan, to know about the Japan's opportunities. Because we believe, I think Japan has so many good options or they provide so many benefits to the students that very few countries do. And our aim is just to like share this knowledge, share our experiences to the international students and help them to apply in Japan. So yeah, so I think you can find us on Facebook by just writing Connect Japan. You can join our Facebook group as well, where many of other students will probably help you in the comment section. And so yeah, this is basically Connect Japan.
Great. Again, thank you guys so much for participation. We're waiting for more comments and questions from you, because we're gonna have another live session related to Max pretty soon, which we're gonna again announce on our social media at Tokyo State of Mind, and we might also collaborate with MSA and Connect Japan on other topics. So please follow them as well. Thank you so much. We wish you the best luck with Max, and remember, just never give up. Apply, ask questions. You're not alone. You have like 3 organizations that are doing our best, like to help you out. Thanks again for participation, and we're gonna see you again. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.